We'll just go ahead and get started. Anybody who wants to roll in can roll in. Super informal, not going to drag you guys all the way back through that entire presentation. I'll kind of run through some of the things that kind of go a little bit more into detail on it. Like for us, I think I told you guys when I was there, I hated real estate, don't like real estate, never really enjoyed it. However, I love doing what I'm doing now. And doing what I'm doing now is building the team, building the different departments, focusing on the growth. That's what I've always enjoyed the most. Dealing with clients and that type of stuff definitely wasn't my favorite thing to do. Problem with it is it's just by far the most profitable thing for me to do. And as people run teams and we look at their P&Ls, like people who think they have profitable teams don't have profitable teams. They think they're profitable because they don't pay themselves as a selling agent. So they keep their production inside the P&L. So say, for example, you take a $10,000 gross commission on a typical team structure. If one of my agents sells that property, $5,000 goes out through cost of goods sold. When what most teams are doing is they get that $10,000 commission, they were the selling agent, so they keep that entire $10,000 on the P&L, and it's a wildly inaccurate way for people to determine profitability, because what happens is you do what we did, and it's you completely step out of production, and you realize once that commission starts being split with other agents, that company that you thought was very profitable very quickly is not profitable, and it's because your production is the vast majority of the profit. So it's just, in my opinion, kind of what my biggest issue was we work weekends, we work nights, we work holidays, we work nonstop, and we want to maintain the high profitability of being in production, but get the time back as if we were out. And the showing partner model definitely gives us the ability to do it. I haven't stepped foot in a property in over a couple of years. I don't meet clients at their homes. I don't meet photographers. I don't meet stagers. I don't show properties. I don't send listings. We don't do any of that time-consuming stuff because that's what my showing partner does. So the only thing that we have to handle as the lead agents are the important parts of the conversation. And in the important parts of that conversation, it's the initial consultation, it's the offer conversations, it's the request for repair conversations, and then you get to hand them off the keys. And for some of you guys, you'll handle it a little bit differently. The primary objectives in this order is going to be the production partner. You'll hear them called showing partners. I don't call them a showing partner because when we first started calling it that, people thought it was we were paying people like a per door basis. And that's not at all what this is. So we just changed it literally the day of the presentation to production partner, because it doesn't do it any justice by calling it a showing partner. So a couple of things like in this order are their responsibilities. Number one, their job is to leverage you as the lead agent. By leveraging you as the lead agent, that means anything and everything that is not a high dollar an hour activity, you guys do not do. You don't show properties, put on lock boxes, input listings, do any of that stuff. Your production partner is going to handle and facilitate all of that. Then their job is to train under you. And one of the things, in my opinion, that makes this model so incredibly good, it is when you guys hand off a lead, do any of your agents convert as well as you guys do? Yeah. Most of the time they don't. And it's not even close to it. So it's if I take 5 at-bats that I know I would be able to convert, a really good converting agent maybe will convert 3 of them. So the reason that we like to stay in charge, especially in this market, like what we've found in these conversations and the objections that we're getting from buyers these days, is like you really have to be a tactical and skilled agent in order to navigate your way through the difficult conversation that this market has provided. So when you hand out a lead and somebody says, you know what, I'm not really interested, like their ability to handle that objection and how they're going to latch on to that prospect and nurture that prospect to a point where we're able to get them back off the fence, like that's where really skilled agents and novice agents start to separate. And what we're going to start to see as the market becomes more and more challenging, you're going to see a lot of these teams start to dwindle down because the competitiveness of the market, because of how skilled people have to be, because how deep entrenched people are into their fears. Like, it's not going to be the best model for people to have big teams, because it was easy for agents to be successful over the last couple of years. It's not easy to be successful today and into this market we're going into. Before we get started on anything else, you guys have any questions? Super informal, so feel free to shoot off any questions that you guys might have. So the reason that I like this is when you have a brand new agent who comes into it, when the difficult conversations become difficult, you are there to help keep, I kind of consider it like the bumpers when you go bowling. Like, you guys are the bumper to keep that conversation on the alley. Like, that is our job, is to make sure that we're keeping the difficult parts of the conversation when we do the heavy lifting. And the typical objections are like, people think that the client's only going to want to work with you. And that's complete and total BS. Honestly, I didn't really have that objection when I started, but I can tell you firmly now, I have past clients who I have given back to a showing partner. And I've had those past clients come back to me and said, this makes so much more sense for what you do. One of my clients is an attorney. He was like, I always wondered why the hell it was you showing me the properties. And he goes, I think this is a brilliant model. And he goes, I totally respect it. And he said, I just want you to know, from my perspective, I didn't feel handed off. And had you just handed me to this person and then completely stepped out of the transaction, he said, I wouldn't have been your client, because it would have felt completely passed off. And this is an attorney who has paralegals who told me specifically, I would have done the transaction, but you never would have heard from me again, because you would have felt, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, how do you keep it in the lane then? Like, how do you make it feel like you're not handing a client off?
The most important thing is that you don't make them sound, you don't call them a production, you don't call them a showing assistant, you don't call them your assistant, you don't make them sound like a subordinate. Okay. Anytime anybody gets introduced to my partner, Harmony, she's my partner. You don't call them a production partner. You don't call them any of that stuff. So this is my partner, Harmony. And from the initial conversation, because the way that you guys will handle this, like, I have an ISA and my ISA will set her up on an appointment. Everything's done via group text. And this is where everybody screws it up. If you don't keep it on a group text, the integrity of the process goes to complete shit. So you have to do, from the initial intro to all the ongoing conversations, to all the ongoing communication, everything is going to be held within a group chat. In that group chat, as the team lead and as the main agent, I'll heart, like, honestly, I barely even read them. My showing partner knows if I need to get involved, flag me, tell me, hey, I need your response on this. But I honestly don't even read them. I'll occasionally look at it. And then you'll see a property come through, you'll do a thumbs up, you'll do a heart. Like, your engagement is going to be minimal, but keeping involved with it is going to be very easy for you. So when the showing partner sends listings, it's on the group chat. When we're setting up showings, it's on the group chat. When we're setting up phone calls to discuss an offer strategy, group chat. When we're talking about inspections, group chat. Everything is group chat. So you're never going to be uninvolved in the process, and there's never going to be a point in time where you can't just scroll up through your feed to get caught up so you can give the proper advice. And the way that we like articulate it to a client to help them understand is, when you guys go and visit your doctor isn't the one checking you in. Your doctor's not the one making a copy of the insurance card. Your doctor's not the one taking your temperature. Your doctor's not the one checking your blood pressure. Your doctor comes in for the most important part in the heavy lifting, and that's to look at your vitals and do the diagnosing and do the prescribing. That's all your doctor's used for. They come in, they come out. They're there for maybe 5 to 10% of the entire process, from the time you walk in the door to the time you leave. Your process is going to be the exact same. So what a team agent doesn't have the ability to do, especially back like when we were having to submit offers 12% over ask price with no contingencies and like, new agents could not get their offers accepted. And we separated it, because we have our agents who've been agents for a year plus, agents who have been a year under. Those agents were submitting more than triple the amount of offers as an agent who had been experienced for at least 12 plus months, because they have the ability to articulate themselves. They have the ability to take control of a conversation, and they have more experience guiding a client to where they need to be in order to be competitive. A new agent didn't have that skill set. My showing partner, and we track everything. So an agent who is 12 months and under, they're submitting an average of 22 offers to get an acceptance. An agent 1 year and above, there was an average of 12 offers to get an acceptance. My showing partner's clients, there was 2 offers to get an acceptance. There's a clear reason. I've been doing this forever. I know how to have a conversation with the client. I can do the heavy lifting and I can handle the important parts of the conversation. And my showing partner gets to do all the other work. So the good news is she gets within her first year, she's got like 6 to 7 years worth of experience because the average agent in Orange County sells 2 to 3 homes per year. She gets to handle all my clients, be a part of all of those conversations so that she can listen to what do you say and how do you say it when this objection is said and heard. And it really does just create, and when you do this correctly, you'll start everybody does it different. There's people who will do a minimum of a 1 year requirement as a production partner. I strongly recommend doing a 2 year requirement. The reason being, you're going to have a 6-month process to where it's going to suck. You're going to be out of cadence. You're going to be off sync. You're going to be out of sync. Like you're not going to mesh and vibe well for at least 3 to 6 months. And then by the time they finally start getting traction, you've only got 6 months left of them. And then you're starting the entire process back over. So my recommendation for you guys is definitely do a 2 year. Mine's what I call a lifer. She wants to stay with me. She sees the benefits of just being able to attach to my transactions. She doesn't have to worry about leads. She doesn't have to worry about money. She doesn't have to worry about any of it because she gets to just attach to my production. So if you are going to do it through a graduate model, you take a brand new agent, you put them under an experienced agent, and they're going to work with that experienced agent for a minimum of 1 to 2 years. You got to set graduation requirements. So the graduation requirements, and they're different for everybody because in Orange County, we sell a lot less transactions, but do a lot more volume. I have friends running this model in Fargo, North Dakota that have to sell like 3 million houses to equate to one of ours. So they have to do way more transactions. So my friends in Fargo, their graduation requirements are like 45 homes within a year. Here, top producing teams barely do 50. So for here, it's 8 to 12 is our graduation requirement. Of that graduation requirement, they also need to bring in at least 4 of their own transactions. But the reason being, we want to make sure that we have somebody who knows how to hunt. We want to make sure that we have somebody who knows they've mastered how to have the conversations, the objection handlings in the process, and they have proven to us that they can stay afloat without our business. So there's self-gen graduation requirements and there's office lead graduation requirements. There's a time served requirement, which is totally up to you guys and what you do. If it's going to be for you, do not do less than 2 years because it's just going to be a total pain in the ass. So 2 years time served and then a minimum of the office requirement. So for us, it's 12 and then they have to do 4 of their self-gen. If you guys are in a lower price market, you're going to have to adjust that. Do the math on it. Too many people just kind of guess without doing the math and seeing what this all turns into. One of the really common models, because Dan Beer actually runs this model, and they do a 75% to the lead agent, 25% of a commission to the production partner. If you do that math, I would be paying substantially more money doing that than I am with a salary. So I'm netting a lot more money by paying a salary and just doing the 10% bonus on our deals. I'm netting a lot more money, even though I'm paying a salary, because once you start getting over 10 million, it's going to be way more profitable. And the further above 10 million you get, it's going to be that much more unprofitable if you use the 25% model. Any questions on any of that? Yes, Jen.
Okay, so after they generate, so if they generate their own, you're talking about graduation requirements. What are the bonuses for them? Are there any? And also for if they stay past 1 year, do they get a higher salary for the second year?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. So 25% for self-gen. So the way that we do it, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm always more generous. And the reason being, it's why my people stay forever. So like the way that I initially started this versus how I end up paying out is different. Just keep in mind the way I'm running mine, I literally just need to make sure that I never have to set foot in another house ever again. Like that's the one job. Because when you do this, you're doing it because you're drowning and you need to be able to get some time back and you need to become leveraged. Or you're doing it because you need to be able to buy time back so that you can reinvest it into your family, your kids, your spouse, your health, whatever it is. But when you do this model, it's to get you time back with so that then you can choose what to do, reinvest it in. Like, so for me, I was trying to build the team, but I was also trying to be in production, and I couldn't possibly build the infrastructure and the training and doing everything that we were doing for the team while also being a full-time agent. So for me, I needed it to buy the time back so that I could reinvest that time with the business. Now, for most people, and this is where they screw it up, is if I were to go start this whole thing over, I would truly have like 5 or 6 showing partners or production partners, and I wouldn't have this big mega team because it truly is just a wild pain in the ass. I love it. I personally enjoy it. We've gotten through the messy middle, but for most people, like I can tell you one of my really good friends, Mike Novak, who runs the production partner model, he nets more money than any single person who stepped on any stage in all of EXPCon with 5 people. Because he's keeping the high profit with the low expense of a production partner. I don't give a shit what your production is, what your GCI is. What did you walk away with, and what did you actually deposit into your bank account that was used to fulfill your life? And the vast majority of these mega teams are not profitable at all, or are running on a 5 to a 10% profit margin. And for those teams, if that's what we were operating on, I wouldn't run it. And that is what the vast majority of them are operating on. So it's just not a profitable model that makes any sense. So for me, I would want to you can hire multiple production partners and you have way more control, because the biggest issue that any team lead has for any mega teams or even micro teams is like, how the hell do you get people who aren't doing the activities that are going to make them successful? How can we make them be successful? And if there's one thing that we've learned, no matter how much we try, no matter how much we enforce, no matter what we require, you can't make lazy people not be lazy. And the great thing about having this model is you get to take somebody from a W-2 position who is used to showing up at a certain time and leaving at a certain time. How do you transition somebody from a W-2 to a 1099 to be successful? And we know the answer to that. Not many people successfully do it, because we know the on-ramp to getting it well-versed in a transaction and the objection handling and collect leads and to do the transaction management. And that entire process takes a ton of time. And unless you got a sugar daddy, sugar mama, you come from a trust fund, like you got somebody who's making money, there's not a lot of people who can make it through this 6-month time frame without collecting a check. So it gives somebody a livable income with the upside of the bonus and the upside of the commission, to where you can tell them when they show up, the activities that they have to do, and you legally can hold them accountable to those activities.
So you make them W-2.
So they are W-2 because you are paying them a salary.
Okay.
So they're W-2 employees. And now there's 2 separate portions of this. This is where people kind of get disconnected on it. The W-2 portion is when you tell them to show up from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Well, what happens when they have to show home at 6 or 7? Or what happens when they have to go show homes on the weekends? Or what happens when they're holding open houses? That's the 1099 portion of what they do. So they are going to be paid commission, and they're also going to be paid the salary. So when they show up from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, every single day is the exact same. 8 o'clock to 8:30, we role play and we objection handle. 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, she focuses on only calling people who we have never met. So she's actually prospecting. From 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, that's when she follows up and she prospects and she sends listings and she does it with people that we've met. We very clearly separate the prospecting time and the follow-up, because so many agents will confuse prospecting and follow-up. You'll end up calling people who you're already working with, in the process with, somebody who you've already met, they're already committed using you. That's maintenance of an existing pipeline. So we tell them, these are going to be the group of people that you call. You're only going to call people who you have never met. So you're genuinely prospecting and creating business from that pipeline that without her efforts, I would not have, because it would just be a lead sitting in a pipeline. So she prospects, creates business for us. And then from 11 o'clock, or excuse me, 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, that's when she'll maintain the existing pipeline, follow up with leads and so on and so forth. She only gets 1 day officially off per week. We have 2 showing partners. My director of sales has one and I have one. They alternate the day off. And the weird thing is people say, well, who's going to sign up for it? You all did. Like none of us have days off. Like we have time, we have to balance it. And we tell people it's a lifestyle position. So just because you clock in at 9 and you clock out at 5, doesn't mean that you're not responding to phone calls. You're still a real estate agent. You're just getting a livable salary, and you're going to have the ability to maintain yourself, pay your bills, to give you the time to become masterful at what you do, learn how to navigate the conversations, learn how to navigate the transaction, and actually learn the process of becoming a really good agent. Kat, you look like you had a question on that.
I like the lifestyle career. I think it's hard for me to understand
totally
how
is.
somebody, yeah, I know. I think it's hard. It's so, I mean, you're forever showing agent, like she doesn't have aspirations to be an independent agent.
So the good news is she does, and she can. But anytime she does the math, she'd be making a lot less money, because she gets attached to all of my business. So even though she's making a much smaller portion, she gets all that business just fed to her. And then she still has the ability to go self-gen whatever she wants. But anytime that equation has been done, she would be netting substantially less than what we do. Because she closed like $10 million worth of business for me last month. And it's like here in Orange County, not a lot of agents as solos will do that. So she gets the bonuses on that. She gets the salary from it, and then she gets the experience on it. I'm not telling you 3 years from now, she's not going to change her mind, because as she does and focuses on the self-gen, and she does the open houses, and all these clients start turning into past clients, eventually at some point, she's likely going to want to transition through to it, which is one of the big reasons that we are now focusing, like ideally what we'll get to in the future is where they get 2 full days off, because the 2 showing partners that we have now, they fill in for one another. So when this one's off, this one will go show. But it's no different with you guys. If you're going to be in Vegas tomorrow and you got a client and they say, hey, can I look at this property tomorrow? We're unavailable tomorrow, but would Tuesday work? It's the same thing that any other agent does.
Sure. Okay.
Colton, you did say that you have client, or you're aware that this is running in other kind of markets that aren't necessarily Orange County, where like, look, El Paso, our average price point's like $240,
Yep.
right now. So I do a lot of transactions to make up for that, and so grateful for that. But just I was talking to one of other big team leads with EXP on the flight home, and he was talking about he runs this a very similar model. But so I just wanted to, and so anyways, just want to make sure that we always have to, our salaries are going to be different and things like that. So
Totally. So in Fargo, North Dakota, who was it that you were talking to, by the way?
it was Brian Birds. What's his name?
Okay, so Brian's a really good friend of mine, and
Okay.
we have the same real estate coach.
Okay.
So Brian and I run the super. I think he's paying $30,000 or $35,000.
That's what he told me. He was paying about 30.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do a bonus. It's just straight salary. And he was telling me he kind of equates it to like, the medical profession. You're going to bust your ass for, during a residency, and then you get to make a lot more money after you graduate, kind of thing. So that's the way he kind of presents it to them. Like, yeah, it's going to suck and you're probably going to feel underpaid for a little bit, but then on the back end, you're going to be able to really have all the experience and knowledge to go out and make tons more money.
Hold on, I'm texting Brian to tell him what a cheap ass he is. So look, and truthfully, and depending on I personally couldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't think I could either, because I do have I have a showing agent right now, and we're just doing a 10% on closing, and it's part of it is the irregularity of that for that someone who's brand new and not being able to, and so she's gone a part-time job, and so we're looking at like, hey, can we flatten out that income curve? And obviously we need to make sure we have enough income to handle that.
Yeah.
And so that's we're seriously considering this kind of model. So
it is, because, and the reason, because I see the debates all the time, because I have friends that run the 75-25 model, and then I have friends that run this model. This model smokes it every single time if you're doing 10 million plus. And if you run the numbers on it, and the reason being, if you do this and you do it correctly, the problem is like we're agents and we're lazy. I'm not saying all of us, but the problem with most people who will run this model is it's like, okay, so you're going to get your time back. And then
Mhm.
Dustin, you are struggling with that thing, man. So what we want to do is like when you have this time back, so all the time that you guys currently spend, and I would really encourage you to actually go track it. Like take a stopwatch with you all day, like we used to run in track and field. Literally click start from the time that you start sending properties and the times that you're following up, and hit stop. Then hit start again the minute that we start showing properties, and go calculate all the time that you are spending doing the dumb shit that does not create any future business for you in the future. Like
Mhm.
all we are doing, focusing on today's business and maintaining today's business. What if you took that? How many hours do you think it is? It's at least 15 hours a week minimum. It's at least 15 hours a week that you'd be able to get that time back.
Mhm.
And if you just focus that 15 hours prospecting and doing the high dollar an hour activities and generating and creating the appointments and creating the initial consultations and calling the expired listings and the for sale by owners or doing your YouTube chat, whatever it is you do to generate business, if you truly reinvested all of that time doing the high dollar an hour activities that generate the future business, how much more production do you think you could generate? Because literally from there, you just hand off that production that is going to be created from you actually doing additional output. You're going to hand that production off to a showing partner that one, you're going to stay in control of the important parts of the conversation. You're going to stay of the important parts of the negotiation, the request for repair, all the parts where deals inevitably start getting wobbly.
Mhm.
If you could take the inexperience out of that equation that ultimately leads to deals falling out and stay in control of what's going to keep the deal solid, how much more production could you generally create? And the answer is a fuck ton. But the problem is when you get that time back, most people don't reinvest it the way that they're supposed to reinvest it.
Right.
And I'm not faulting anybody for this, because time with your family, for me, and what I've learned, I always said to my daughter, it's like, oh, one day this is all going to be worth it. One day I'm going to have the time to do this. One day, one day, one day. And it's like, congratulations, I'm finally to one day to where I can do whatever I want with her. But I didn't calculate that I'm 15 and she's 15 and I'm not cool anymore. Like it, and I'm not kidding. The first day that, dude, the first day I was going to surprise her on this holiday vacation, and she called me up and she's like, hey, Dad, is it cool if instead, and I had to cancel the whole thing because she just wanted to go hang out with her friends and go on a camping trip.
Aw.
And like, I bawled. Like I cried. I was like, you dipshit.
Yeah.
Look at all these years, all that youth, all that time, all those things that we say, no, sweetie, I'm too tired. I'm too busy. I'm too this, I'm too that. It's like, there's not a single amount of money I wouldn't pay to get that time back. And we all fucking lose it. And it's stupid.
Mhm.
And for what? This model allows you to get that time back so that you can never worry about missing a game, and so that you can truly go spend time with. So if that's what you do with the time, so you can reinvest it, I'll net less money so I can get more time back. Like I truly am to that point now where it's like, I don't need to make more. I just want to get more time, and I want to have more balance, and I want to have more quality of life. But for most people, you can take half of that time and reinvest it into your health and your family and your spouse. And you take the other half and you reinvest it into the high dollar an hour activities. You will net more money if you do this model correctly. But then the other part where it completely falls off is you think your showing partner, your production partner is a dump all, and that you get to just pile all your shit on top of them, and that this isn't a true partnership to where you guys have to work together, communicate well together, and be able to say, with you being completely like having the ability to take criticism. And one of the questions that we always ask is like, hey, Kat, truthfully, one, how are you doing? So we do our check-ins on Mondays and we say, how are you doing? What's going on? So you truly connect with one another. And you say, hey, what am I doing right now that's driving you fucking nuts? And sorry for the way I speak, but what am I doing that's driving you crazy? And then shut up and let them tell you, because I promise you, if you're me, it's going to be a lot. And if you can listen to it, and if you can be objective, and if you can take criticism to build this and to make it a better process, like your relationship with your production partner and your business will be so unbelievably smooth. But where we see people screw it up is on these check-ins, it's not a genuine check-in.
Yeah.
It's this, and this is what you're doing, this, and this is what you're doing wrong. And it starts becoming where you pick up the whip before every single meeting. And it's like, listen, if that's going to be the way that you handle this, it's not going to work. Don't drag this poor person through it. This person is going to be an actual partner of yours, where you're going to have to, one, truly take the time to train them, two, truly become an amazing coach and an amazing leader, and then to be able to guide them and keep them on track when inevitably they're going to fall off. And it's like, you can screw this up completely, but if you do it right, and if you're patient, and if you truly train and you focus, and where people screw it up, and Jen, I'll switch back over here, but where people really, really screw this up is you tell them what to do, and then you expect them to know how to do it. And it's the biggest thing that we have learned in this process. And it's my daughter, she's 15. So right now, like, imagine she's never driven a car. I say, honey, this is how you turn on a blinker. This is how you drive a car. This is what you do. And I never step foot inside of that vehicle with her. And I just trust her to do what I told her to do. It'd be reckless. I'm pretty certain we all know how that end result would turn out. So it's like, one, tell them what to do. Two, make them show us how they're doing it, coach them, correct it. And then once they have proven to us to know how to do it, once they've proven that they can drive the vehicle, they can parallel park, they can pull it out of the driveway, they can switch lanes on the freeway, they can get onto the freeway, once they have proven to us that they know how to do it, then you trust them to go do. So step one, I show you. Step two, you show me. Step three, then you go do. The problem is we tell everybody what they're supposed to do, and then we expect them to know how to do it. And guys, we all sucked at one point, and we still suck, and we still have things that we have to improve. But when it comes to training our teams, we take this different approach than how we teach our kids how to drive a vehicle. And then we're shocked when it's unsuccessful. And it's unsuccessful because our leadership sucked. Jen, go ahead.
Okay, so earlier in the year, obviously last year too, when the business was crazy, I mean, I could totally see being able to pay, that money and have somebody be occupied for 40 hours a week. Right now, I guess my question is, would you be able to show us how you allot their time? Because I feel like I would only be able to give them a couple hours here and there per week. It wouldn't be 40 hours a week.
So, I mean, it's always 40 hours a week, because keep in mind, their time is going to be filled, one, leveraging you, two, training under you, and then three, prospecting. So if they've already leveraged you and there's nothing else to do, and you've already trained them and there's nothing else to do, that means go find business. Go be an agent. And guess what? I can tell you what to do, because you're a W-2 employee, that I can tell you this is what you have to do in order to keep your job. Like, what we do isn't hard. Real estate is the easiest. The formula for success is so unbelievably easy, and we overcomplicate the shit out of it. Have conversations, set appointments, meet appointments, write escrows, open escrows, close escrows. Ta-da. Like, that's the formula. However you have conversations, geographic farming, cold calling, door knocking, it's literally whatever method we use to create the conversations, set appointments, meet appointments, write escrows, open escrows, close escrows. That's all we do.
So they're not generating their own business as an agent. They're helping you grow yours. Okay, because I also thought they would be working mine and then doing theirs.
All of it's yours.
Got it.
It's all done for your efforts as you as the lead agent, because we also know that when the way that our office works is we have leads that come in and they're first to claim. So when a phone call comes in, that agent can claim it. So the good news is I don't run mine this way, because I don't want my team to think I'm competing against them. So my showing partner does not take office leads. She does not answer Zillow calls. She doesn't do any of that, because I'm not trying to be a competitor within my own team. She does answer as a backup. So we have her as a backup because, remarkably, even in this market, we have a 30% answer rate, which is unbelievable to me. So she'll be there as a backup to claim those. But for like most people and most teams, they should be claiming all the office leads. And then in addition to that, they should be working their sphere. They should be holding open houses, creating self-gen business, which for you'll pay them 25% of, but they're going to create transactions for you that without their efforts, you would not have. So if you're in a market like Brian should be able to get at least another 20 to 26 transactions from his showing partner and production partner, prospecting, doing the self-gen efforts, that he wouldn't have had without their efforts.
So the self-generated leads, like, let's say they have a referral that comes in, is that then, do you take over like as the lead agent, I guess?
Yeah, so let's say, for example, mom sends you a lead. This literally just happened. My showing partner's mom was gonna buy a house. Cool, we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna set up a meeting, we're gonna set up a consultation with my partner, and we'll go ahead and literally, she just brought in the lead. I had the consultation with her mom, we had the conversations, she went and showed the properties, she sent the properties. When they're gonna submit an offer, she shoots me a text, hey, we really fell in love with the property on 123 Elm Street. Are you free for a phone call? And you as a lead agent, like, this is where I piss mine off. I'm always on webinars, I'm always in meetings, I'm always traveling, like I'm always gone. So her biggest frustration is everything's hurry, 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 and then we gotta wait.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, that's a problem. So I created a solution for it. My director of sales is me when I'm not here. So he will take over that conversation. But because it was a big frustration. She's like, hey, I have, but I'm doing this and I'm unavailable for the next 30 minutes. So when her mom comes in, she wants to submit an offer. We jump on it. We have the conversation about how we're going to submit. We'll pull up comps. We'll discuss that conversation as a team, all on a three-way call. There's never a point in time where your production partner is going to be having a negotiation conversation or a pricing conversation or a comping conversation or a strat. There's no part of the conversation that happens without you at the helm. And as you start doing this and you start approaching graduation date, keep in mind, your whole job here is to, 1, tell them what to do, 2, show them what to do. And then we want to allow them to slowly start handing the reins over to say, can they handle these conversations on their own? Can they handle the objections on their own? And now we're getting to a point in time where you'll eventually start trusting their ability to lead the conversations to where now you're on only in case shit goes south. You're only answering these conversations if it gets really, really difficult or if they get held up. And there's no, like, in this conversation, there's no hesitancy, there's no apprehensions from the client, there's no any of this, because when you need to step in, you'll know what it is you need to step in. But for the most part, like, mine now truly is able to lead the majority of the conversations. And then all of a sudden you hear, it's like a parrot saying exactly what you say, how you say it, getting the results that you would be getting. And even if it's to 80 or 75 to 80% of your capacity, you've got somebody who's going to crush the traditional team agent model. Because what we do is we pull new agents in, we barely train them on what to do, we tell them what they're supposed to do, but we don't make them prove that they have the competency to do it. And then they go out there on their own without any supervision, without any assistance. And then they go suck, which is what we all do as new agents. We suck our way through to a point where we finally get enough repetitions where we start becoming good.
Right.
Or you fail out of the business because we weren't trained properly, we were not held accountable properly. None of it was done properly. And it's why the failure rate is so damn high. So it's a lose for the client, it's a lose for the team agent, and it's a lose for you as the team lead. So this model, the whole point is to create a win-win-win. Because is it a win for our clients when a brand new agent has to try to recover a deal that just went south? No, because they don't have the experience, they don't have the repetitions, they don't have the know-how to make that go well. So the outcome ends up the deal blew apart, where an experienced agent most likely could have kept it on the tracks and got it to where we were trying to go. So it's a lose for the client, it's a lose for the team agent. So when we do this, it's a win for you guys because you get your time back and it's more profitable. It's a win for the client because we're keeping them well represented. And it's a win for the team agent because they're going to have a livable income. They're going to have the upside of being, mine will make over 6 figures in her first year in real estate. It's like, that's a total win because the agents in Orange County don't do that in their first year. So if she were to graduate, she will be able to graduate in her second year. And I promise you, she'll dominate the rest of our second year agents who went through the traditional process because she'll have 10 times the experience that they do.
So as of right now, as the lead agent, right, you're making all the phone calls, setting all the appointments, you're doing all that, the heavy lifting, and then just scheduling the appointments for the showing partner. What's the exit strategy if, like, I don't want to be in production forever, like, and like they're you know, right now on the team we have a bunch of agents, but I'm really the only one plus maybe one other agent that's going on listing appointments right now. But like, if I want to get out of production eventually, like, are we obviously getting to the point where maybe these agents are graduating into the experienced agent and then they're hiring the showing partners? Like, what's the Like right now, if I'm not in production, the team's not really profitable. That's the solution we're trying to get is I don't want to be in production forever, but this could be an easy solution for me to handle more of the leads, right? Have the showing assistant, kind of have me be omnipresent, be in multiple places at multiple times. But as the team leader, I don't want to be in production forever. So like, what's the exit strategy?
So this, and this is something that is already being run in our ecosystem, Brian Birds and I, it's called an empire builder. So your production partner can graduate to what's called an empire builder. Now, this is where it will go to no salary and 75-25. Now, why is it that we're willing to do the 75-25 today and not back when we started as a showing partner? Because now you've proven yourself. Now we've shown you how to do the output. Now we've shown you how to run a schedule as a successful agent. You've done it. You've been consistent. You've been disciplined. You've been able to string together not days, not weeks, but months and years worth of consistent effort to create the results. So now I trust you because I've seen your work ethic. We know how you work. We know you know what you're doing. And now I'm willing to pay you the 75-25. So I'm no longer paying the salary. And they just simply become to where they are going to be that 75-25 partner. And that's how they run it as an empire builder. And your empire, so the way that, and we're not running this because one, I personally don't want to, but this is what my friends are doing very, very, very successfully, is they have no part in the negotiations. So the person that becomes the lead agent, the empire builder, has a bunch of other production partners that work under them. And then he simply replaces you in that conversation. So the heavy lifting is handled by the empire builder. And that's where they'll pay the 75-25. So it's like he doesn't go on listing appointments. His listing production partner is the one that goes on all of the listing appointment. But you're going to have to go through that process and just get somebody groomed to where one, they watch you do it enough. And then two, you allow them to start taking control. They're going to make tons of mistakes. And where we screw this up is when you would see them doing 75% of your capacity. So you're like, well, I could have done that better. Well, yeah. However, you're trying to leverage yourself out of this. So if you can get 2 or 3 people that can do it to 75% of your capacity, you win all day long. But you just got to understand and have the patience to understand that they're not ever going to do it just as good as you. But if you train them and if you're patient enough and they do enough repetitions, and then you make them prove to you that they know what they're doing and that you can coach and guide to improve, then you can trust them to go on those listing appointments with you because they've gone on enough of them with you. But where people screw it up is you send people on 2 or 3 and you're like, okay, you got this. And it's like, we all know every single transaction is completely different and they're not all the same. So they need to go through enough repetitions where they get enough practice and enough experience to handle the difficult parts of those conversations so that you can get them to 75% of your capacity. Like mine right now, I don't have to go anywhere for anything. I don't have to go on listings. I don't have to go on buyer consultations because I know her and I trust her and she's going to handle it just fine.
How do you handle it when a client wants you to actually go look at this? Like, yes, your showing partner can go and show all the houses to them, but they want you to actually see the one that they want to write the offer on.
It's never happened, but if it did, my happy ass would drive over there and I'd go look at the house. Like it's never happened. Doesn't mean it won't, but if that were to happen, then at that point I'd go. And keep in mind, like one thing that we recently implemented was I show up now for the inspection. I show up at the end to do, and I will not do this forever. Like I really don't ever want to see it. I just don't enjoy it. However, what I should have been doing the entire time is you handle the initial part of the conversation. You show up at the inspection and then you show up with the keys when you're handing over the keys. If there was something missing and it was the fact that you're showing up for the part where you get to hand off the bottle of wine or the champagne, you're there for the celebration, but they really didn't feel you as connected because you weren't there for that part. So I think if you run this model, you should handle the initial part, you handle the inspection to where you show up and do the summary with the inspector because it's keeping you attached and involved. And then
Sure.
you show up for the key handoff.
How do you handle it when the self-generated business then turns into referrals? So that book of business, does that
As long as they're a production partner, it's always yours. Now, keep in mind, any business that happens,
Yeah.
any of my past clients, because here's what ends up happening. Like if I were to hand off one of my past clients to one of my team agents,
Yeah.
that is no longer my past client. And you're high as hell as you think they're going to stay with you forever. That relationship gets handed off to the team agent.
Right.
It's a production partner. It's my past client. It's always my past client. So any of the business that she's doing today, those are going to be my past clients. And I stayed connected through this entire process to where I'm not handing off the relationship. I handled all the important parts of that conversation to keep that trust, to keep that relationship intact. So
Okay.
I can go through 6 different production partners. They can meet a different single one every single time, but I'm never handing off my future business. I'm not handing off my SOI. And when you do the traditional team model, you're handing off your SOI whether you like it or not.
I think that's the part that I've never wanted to bring on a team member, is because that entire book of business then goes with the teammate whenever they leave.
They do through the traditional team model.
Yeah.
And I think the traditional team model, like, because the reality of it is, like, most teams, and we talk about it all the time at Fast Forward, and when we talk about like how do we appeal to smaller teams, and it's like most people don't want to build these big mega teams because it's a pain in the ass, and most people just simply don't have the interest. And small teams, nobody wants to talk about the fact that small teams are not profitable, because you're at this point where most small teams have a team leader who's doing at least 75% or more of the production. And it's like, at that point, you're literally just paying to have a team.
Yeah.
And it's stupid. This production partner model really solves all of it. And guys, I didn't create it, so I don't want you to think I'm touting like, look how great this, somebody taught me this model, and it's just by far the most brilliant model that's in the industry, because it solves all these problems. And I wish I could have every single one of my team agents graduate after learning from one of my top agents for a year, because then I know every single person on my team is experienced, they're well-versed, they have the ability to keep our clients protected. We know that they represent us in the right way, because now I've got 35 people out there. I don't have a guarantee that all 35 of these people are going to handle every transaction the way that I would, or how they're representing us as a team, how they're representing us to the other professionals in the industry. You don't know that until you go watch somebody do what they do. And until you see what they do, you have no idea if you can trust how they're going to represent you.
Mhm.
Like, I wish every single person we hired went through the production partner graduation requirements, because when they do, a second year agent converts twice as much as what a first year agent does. A third year agent is another, it's not a full 100% better, but it's about 85. And then the difference in conversion from a third to a fourth year agent and a fourth to a fifth year agent, that spread gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So if we can at least get people from that year 1 conversion to the year 2 conversion, they're going to stop wasting all this money that we as team leads waste by allowing them to burn and go through their repetitions on our leads that we pay an absolute fortune for. And the best part is, like, now that my director of sales and my top agent, we're hiring our 3rd production partner for one of our top agents, because she now needs to be leveraged, because she can only do so much until she caps out, and she's starting to burn out. So now we're going to hire her production partner. Her production partner can tap into our leads. She's able to build a production partner book of business off of our team and our leads. And her goal, she wants to have 3 of these within the next 12 months. And it's like, you can absolutely do that. And it creates a great model, because you're going to be able to leverage your best people and create a career path that's going to keep people here. Because what she doesn't want to do is have to focus on the training. What she doesn't want to have to do is focus on payroll. She just wants to focus on selling real estate. And this model gives her the ability to do that. And she can do it through our team leads.
If you had to go back, then would you just have production partners?
Doing what I'm doing now with the EXP, having a big team makes a lot of sense. Doing agent attraction and that type of stuff. Without this, I would say absolutely not. I don't care. Like Kyle and Dan, even I'll use my coach. My coach is with Real, obviously the competitor of EXP. He told me, he's like, Colton, do you have any idea how hard it is for me to show up and sell houses? Or like how hard it is to run my team? Because he's making millions of dollars a year on agent attraction. But it's his team. He's the top 20 in the entire world. So it's his team is what attracts people to him. And that's why he continues to run it. But if it wasn't for that, there's not a chance in hell these people would run big teams.
Okay.
And you can do it super profitably. Like Dan by far is probably one of the most profitable mega teams in the industry. But it's just, for most people, that's not what they want to build. And if that's not what they want to build, don't, but maintain the profitability. You can make a fortune running this model. The only other thing on here, so literally the time block and the maintenance of it, like where people kind of screw things up, is when it comes to the time block and the maintenance, you actually have to use it for what it's supposed to be used for. So every single day, 8 o'clock, we start our role play and our reinforcement training, 9 o'clock prospecting, 10 o'clock follow-up, 11 o'clock and on appointments, inspections, and contracts. It should be more than that, truthfully. Like the timing will be different, but their time needs to be broken down. Whether you do more or I don't care how you do it, but their time every single day has to look the exact same. So they're going to be prospecting at a certain time, following up at a certain time, doing their contracts, the appointments and the inspections at a certain time. And where people we see it get screwed up is all of a sudden your production partner is out showing properties at 9 o'clock and you let them because they're like, hey, Colton, I had an appointment. Claire wanted to look at the house today at 9 o'clock. What was I supposed to do? And it's like, that's where you guys will let it get screwed up, because when we stop holding our time accountable for what it's supposed to be used for, the effectiveness and the efficiency of all this falls apart when we allow the time to be interrupted. Because it happens with mine. She's like, what was I supposed to do? Well, if you were showing a $10 million home, is there any chance in hell that you would have blown off that $10 million showing for this showing? The answer is always no. You would have found a way around it. Your prospecting time and your follow-up time is the most important time that you have as my partner. Do not allow life to get in the way of it. Do not allow other appointments to get placed in priority of it, because this time is what's going to create all of these transactions for us in the future. So I would rather somebody blow off a client than prospecting time, because that prospecting time is what creates all that future business. So it's like you guys are responsible for holding it accountable and making sure that they use their time for what it's supposed to be used for.
Mhm.
And then the maintenance, you got it, like the maintenance is needed. So you guys are going to do at least your one-on-ones. Like ideally in a perfect world, you're meeting twice per week. I don't meet mine twice in a week. I meet mine every single Monday. It needs to happen every single week. How are you? What's going on? Get a temperature check for how they're doing. What are our immediate needs for our existing clients? And then we just make sure that they're tracking. Are they making the amount of phone calls that they're supposed to be making? Are they having the conversations? What are the KPIs for their from their conversations to their appointment set, from their appointment set to their appointment met? And then we focus on coaching to be able to bridge the gap to increase the conversion on each of those different KPIs.
Mhm.
And the more you guys do this, truthfully, the better that it gets. Like most people I see, it's like a 90-day period where like this isn't working. Just be prepared for 90 days of hell of trying to get in sync with somebody, finding the right person, making sure that you guys can start communicating well together. And then like after that 90-day point, it seems you start getting in a cadence and a rhythm and a routine. But this truly is 75% finding the right person. Because if you hire the wrong person, and if you hire somebody who's not going to be available, if you hire somebody who's not going to be responsive to leads outside of their 9 to 5 because you didn't set the expectations appropriately, you're going to start running into problems because you have somebody who thought they were signing up for a 9 to 5. It's like they need to truly understand what they're signing up for and what their days and schedules are going to look like. We tell our people it's going to be a year of hell. But this is going to be a year of hell that you're going to be able to have, gaining the experience to be a successful agent and building a strong foundation. So it's like we truly spend the majority of our time trying to talk them out of signing up for this, because you're going to be constantly busy. You're going to constantly be attached to your phone. Your spouse is going to want to kill you. You're going to have to work nights. You're going to have to work weekends. You're going to have to do the things that every successful agent today has to do, but you're not going to have the ramp up period like most of us do. Like we get into it thinking that we have the freedom and the flexibility to do whatever we want. And we slowly have our time and freedom stripped away from us the more and more successful we become. For them, they're going to have the schedule of a top producing agent the minute that they sign up.
Mhm.
It's a big reality check for most people, and we don't really take that into consideration. So make sure that they understand truly what that day and schedule is going to look like. If you guys have any questions, feel free to text me, ask me any questions, and I'll be happy to help you guys. If you're thinking about doing it, just do it, because it's you'll be the happiest people in the world. Selling real estate sucks.
So when you bring on this partner, do you just set them up as a regular agent? How do you set their caps, their fees for all that? Do they handle that? Do you handle that?
Yeah, so they pay their own cap. So they're on our $4,000 cap or an $8,000, depending on where you guys are at on the team splits. So
Yep.
they pay their own caps. And I've seen different variations. I've seen some where the team pays enough of the cap, or they offset it to be able to offset the cap. However you can run it and make it work, so it's a win for them and it's a win for you. Run it that way. Ours pays their own cap.
Okay, and the rest of the fees, they take care of as well, like a regular
Yeah.
agent.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Colton, can you break down what the hiring process looks like of that? How does that work? Are you doing the hiring, looking for candidates, or are your agents, onboarding them? How does that work?
I have a full-time recruiter. So the nice part for us is I always just have a pool of agents to choose from. Like, we know who our badasses are the minute that they sign up. I know a lot of people do. I think disc assessments are total bullshit. We've done them. I can't tell who's going to be good until we put them through our process. So it's like, we just really, I know who we're choosing from because we have a team of agents. Putting a bunch of ads out. Social media for us by far is the best, most impactful, most successful way for us to hire people, and it's why we post so much. I hate social media. But the reason I post so much is because it's literally our #1 lead generator for agents. And it's people who get to resonate with you. They hear we cuss, so they're not shocked. Like, we try to be our true authentic selves on social media. And that for us has attracted people that just stick to the team. Indeed works pretty well. WiseHire has been total shit for us, but it works well in other markets. But we get most of our prospects from Indeed and WiseHire. Now, if you guys go put out a 1099 realtor position on Indeed and then a W-2 position, you'll have 150 applications for the salaried position, and you'll have 3 for the 1099 agent position. So just make sure, also to these emails, I'll send you guys the Indeed ad that we use to get agents, and just be super, super selective. Like, we follow John Cheplack's cadences for questions. And it's, hey, Marcus, like, in order for this to be successful, what would this have to look like? What would have to happen from now to 12 months from now? So when we have this conversation in a year, what would have to happen in order for this to be a successful venture for you? And then shut up and let them puke all over you, because they're going to find out right after that question if you got somebody who's a total psychopath, whether you got somebody. Like, all these questions just allow you to allow them to speak, so you can figure out if they're the right person for you or not, because it's really the majority of it. 50% culture, 25% grit, and then you just got to make sure that they're going to be a good culture fit for you.
Speaking of social media, Colton, we put out some reels from EXPCon, and like you said, we're our authentic self, we're true, real, and we've gotten, I think, 10 agents already reaching out to us, scheduling meetings to come to EXP. Jen Wickwire made her first reel. Everyone give high five.
Yes,
Get it, Jen? It really is.
like I've done reels, but not fun like that. That was cool.
Well, because everybody gets on there and they're like, "Hi, my name," and it's like, who? No, that's not how you talk. I see how you guys talk. I saw you guys taking shots at the bar in Vegas. None of you on your
Wasn't me.
So we've just found that, like, the best people and the people who you like the most are gonna, and it doesn't mean that you're just gonna find your people. And if you truly present yourself the way that you guys present yourself, and like Michael, he always scares me and sets up a camera and tries to scare the shit out of everybody. We post that stuff because we get people who are fun, that don't mind that type of environment. And then there's other people who would hate that. It's like, cool, they know not to inquire with us because we're not going to be the team for them. But social media by far is the best place to find agents. And then one thing I would add that we used to do when we were smaller, and I wish we could still do it now, but it would just be so expensive. Anytime you bring on agents, do like a happy hour, get some liquor in these people, see how they behave, see how they interact, see how they communicate with one another. Like, doing an actual night out or a dinner or something that's going to get people to let the freak flag fly. Like, it is one of the most exposing events you can do, and it will save you a ton of time and effort. Because we had somebody we didn't do that with, and then we got one cocktail in that person, and we were like, holy shit, she's insane. So it's like, I really enjoy doing those happy hours because you can find the right people by doing that. Cool, guys. Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and send this off to you. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Colton.